Hello and welcome. We are so happy for you to join us here. I'm here with myself, my husband, Bob West,
Hello,
and
everybody.
and Jon Emery.
Okay.
And I met Jon through Jennifer Bennett's inner circle, and she pinged me and said, you guys have to connect, and we connected, and I'm just learning more about Jon and what he does, and he's doing some amazing work. And just to let you know, I'll read off a little bit of his bio, so before we get into this conversation, you know a little bit more about him as well. Jon's journey is a testament to resilience and self discovery. After losing a 20-year job and navigating a divorce, he embarked on a transformative path. This journey led him to authenticity and a deep desire to connect with others, creating his podcast, Life's Checkmark. Through this platform, Jon offers comfort and understanding to those feeling alone on their journeys. This quest for authenticity extended to his role as a father, allowing Jon to forge deeper connections with his children. Alongside his family, he enjoys the companionship of an amazing dog and finding peace in nature through hikes and outdoor activities. Beyond personal pursuits, Jon's passion lies in aiding others, particularly in helping them find their voice through podcasting, fostering empathy and connection among individuals. In essence, Jon Emery's life narrative embodies resilience, empathy, and the power of forging genuine connections. His journey from adversity to self discovery reflects the beauty of understanding and empathizing with others, both in personal relationships and within the wider human experience. So, wow, that is so much and in alignment with what our mission at Radio Bob is. And we're just so happy to have you here and dive into this great conversation that we're going to have. So, welcome, Jon. Say hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. I'm ready to dive into this too. And I'm glad we were able to connect through Jim.
Yeah, definitely. So, tell us. I mean, I've read off your bio, but tell us kind of what I know part of your help for others is that you help get people off the couch and get them to pursue and stop putting things off. So speak to that a little bit and kind of where you were at, where you're able to identify with people that can't take that step forward.
Yeah. So for me, if we want to look at the podcasting side, right? I went to an event after everything happened and I never would have done that, right? If I was still married and stuff, I would have been home with the kids and everything else. So I was like, what am I doing? So I go to this event, sitting at breakfast table, bunch of guys, and everybody leaves but one guy. And he says, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, I don't know. So I'm like, start a podcast, right? And so at the time, I had 10 Facebook Lives, and I did that like 2 years prior to this conversation with him, and it had nothing to do with my podcast today. And so he's like, "I just strip the audio and start with that." And I didn't. I hesitated for 6 months, and then I did do that, right? Because in my head I was telling myself it's not what I want it to be. It's not, I didn't set up these interviews to be for my podcast. So I just jumped the gun. I 6 months later I jumped the gun. I went out, stripped in the audio and launched the podcast, and now it is what it is today. And so episode 0 says, hey, this is what the first 10 are about. Thereafter, this is what the podcast is about, to kind of give a heads up. But what that did was it gave me room to breathe, to find people to interview and everything else like that. If I didn't do that, I would have probably still been sitting on the fence and never even started. So that's what I encourage a lot of people to do now too. And not just podcasting, but like you mentioned, everything in life. Stop sitting around and wait for somebody to come help you and pick you up, because it's really up to you. there's people that want to help you, but you have to be willing to take that chance.
Exactly. And, I like that, it so often we think things have to be done a certain way, have to be perfect. And I know, Bob, you can probably chime in. When we started the radio station, we just jumped in and it was half finished.
You get these doorways that actually accidentally open up in front of you. You went through one. It's horrifying, right? But you didn't have a choice. This door opened up, and instead of you stepping through it, somebody pushed you through it. And you get to the other side of it, and you have to look deep down in your toolbox. And if you've got nothing, you can't sit there with nothing. Wounds do not heal without being cared for. People do not heal without being cared for. Kids are not fed without dad or mom or a legal guardian of some nature, pardon my usage, going to work. I mean, it's what's got to happen. It's the way our society is built. And so these doors open. And so the next question is, you step through it and you take a look around. And apparently you're pretty lucky because you were physically inclined to go out and start moving and doing stuff. And I keep telling people, junkies, again, anybody, when you transition from a hard lifestyle, get moving. There is no substitute for momentum. It's one of the brightest things my older brother ever said. And you'll find that. Sometimes you find it in nature, sometimes you find it in a race car, but you find it. And it starts that one step forward thing in survival. And it's got to get easier. You got to have a toolbox. You have a toolbox, right? What do you consider your best tool or your most common tool that you find yourself giving up?
My best tool. For me, it's if you want to go back on my journey, it's basically been the advice that I share for what I had to use to go through it. So what I do suggest is reaching out to somebody, because of what I went through, it took me some courage to reach out to strangers. I didn't have the friends around me that I would call friends that I can lean on and share stuff about my relationship. So funny enough, I reached out to a podcast, prior to everything coming up with the word divorce anyways. And it was called Dad's Edge. Yeah, you can look it up, and it was all for men. But I was able to reach out to like 4 or 5 men, and they were like a lifeline to me, right? I did not know at the time that 10 men commit suicide every day from divorce. And
Yeah.
I found that out thereafter, right? And so I don't know if I would ever went that route, but I can only imagine, right? I know I can feel it. Like I felt it along the way. Like I can see why it could bring a man down because they build this empire with their house, their kids, their wife, and everything, and it's just stripped away. So my toolbox that right there would be just open up and reach out to somebody and know that somebody wants to hear you and help you. But you have to take that initiative to jump ahead and reach out to someone.
It's a role perspective sometimes that's necessary to be around people that align with your disaster or your positive nature production or even going out hiking. If they align with you, it helps you out, it helps you understand. And people say, well, why can't you talk to me? Well, why can't you talk to me? You're not a dad. I could talk to you forever. You could have written children's books, but you're not a dad. You don't have that aspect for a moment in time that I had. And if that's stripped away, or if the person next to you is stripped away, you're like looking around, like, okay, what do I do? It's funny because we talk about people losing jobs all the time. And we don't think about those numbers, but some people lose their jobs and it feels the same to them. Their threshold for their feelings and stuff. And I'm sure you've encountered that when you're discussing things in your podcast dealing with the personal feelings of another human being. And I'm sure you're open, right? Anybody contacts you. What kind of clientele do you serve mostly?
So right now I'm focusing on helping, like my podcast is all about, sharing journeys, and whoever that can serve and help on the other end, that's awesome. Personally, besides the podcast, is I'm all about trying to help others create their own podcast. to get their voice out, because for the simple fact that I hesitated, right? And so I run across these people that have been wanting to do it for 1 to 3 years and they still haven't started. So that's what I want to push. I'm like, I'm here. Yeah, I've been there, but let me help you. So I have that, and then I have a podcast community as well, and then also some video clips too to help promote some podcasts.
So I run into this with people that they're interested in broadcasting on our station. They said, "Oh, I want to start a podcast." And so I say, "Okay, so you have 7 hours a week, right, for your 1 hour podcast?" And they look at you kind of funny and they go, "What are you talking about?" I'm going, "Well, you're not going to succeed," because they figure, "Oh, well, I have 4 people to interview and I'm all set, so I'll go." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. You have 4 people to interview next month too, and 4 people to interview next month too. So when you do, let's say, an hour, when you find the journey and you do your background investigation, say on me, just for example, and you get ready to do our Zoom call, how long are you in time-wise?"
So I'm a little different, I guess. Some people do the form thing and they'll figure out the people they want to select for their podcast. I do a 20-minute intro prior to scheduling an episode. So we're building a relationship, make sure we're a great fit. That's how I've been doing it. So that takes time. And
Yeah.
half the time some might not even jump on. So I look at it as it could be just, things got busy or there's a reason. So that spreads the time out for me, but I like to build a relationship. So you get to choose what you want to do. And then I would do a podcast episode, which would be about 30, 45 minutes long, video, audio. I am probably a little bit different than some other podcasters. I don't edit anything except for when it's quiet on the ends, and that's it. I let it be what it is. My dog's walking around, you hear the dog, you're gonna get the dog too. Like that's what it is. I could do some editing to kind of cut out things if I want to, and I'm if the people are coming on to share their journey and being open and authentic, I want everything to be authentic too. And this is life. This is how it is. So there's that. With my editing and pushing things out, I'm gonna say it could be about an hour or so. With one episode, I got it down to about an hour. And that's not cutting video clips and stuff. That's even more time.
So you're looking about 4 hours probably, research, initial contacts, emails, phone calls, how you meet,
Yeah.
whatever. And
Yeah,
then
there's a lot of back end work, sure.
yeah, so there's a lot of back end work. And then, I've explained this to people. It's like my wife and I, we have full-time jobs. I don't know about you, but you have 3 hours when you get home, right? And then you have to, if you work a 9 hour shift with a 1 hour commute on each side, maybe you have 3. And so you've dedicated Tuesdays to show night because that was the night you wanted. And so every Tuesday you have to be home, like you in front of your Yeti microphone, headphones ready, Zoom call set, internet going, have eaten, laundry done, right? And the rest of the week shot because you had to get on the internet and find your next victim and your next victim. And it's a rewarding, but people need to understand there's other parts involved in that. And so you started and you got your 10 done and you started rolling for how long, excuse me? How long on the podcast? How long have you been at this now?
So 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you went from hardly anybody to how many subs, and what channel are you found on?
So I'm around episode 145 right now, I believe. And it's on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, you name it. Like I use one of the platforms to shoot it all out.
Cool.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the guests you have, because you have such a wide variety of guests that you interview for your podcasts, and I've listened to a few, and we're actually going to be airing your content on RadioBob, and so let's talk more about the mission with that and getting people's stories out, and just maybe some of the wonderful things you found out that you didn't know about that kind of helped you, because as we do this work with RadioBob and we get to know people, we grow and develop as well. I mean, it's not just about helping others get their story out. We're getting some benefit out of it too.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about that and your journey with uh, getting people's stories out.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is, what you just said. I am growing as a person every time I speak to somebody new. They come on, they share their journey, and then I ask a question at the end. Like I even through the whole thing, it's just a conversation, right? So we don't know where it's going to go. And I ask the question at the end, what are three key things you learned and used along your journey? And it's open-ended. Some of them are like, wow, I don't know. It's because it's so vague, right? In a sense. So they can share whatever they want. And then we might dive a little deeper in a few of those things. But those are the ones that kind of touch me at the end because it puts me in a position, am I doing what others are doing that is right? Or am I not doing something yet? And so I'm able to apply stuff like that if I decide to do so. And so can the listeners and the people watching it. Like it's there, it's available. A common one is a lot of them for me, I'm finding is like faith-based. How did they get through what they went through? And most of the time it's faith comes up in some sense. So I not only grow as a person just listening to them, but it's allowed me to develop skills with more communication and try to, hopefully I ask better questions and I get better feedback, right? I never even looked at this. Like I started the podcast for no audience, no monetization, no nothing. It was just to start to learn and grow as a person. And hopefully, again, it reaches out to those right people that need to hear it. And now it's leading to like speaking engagements and books and stuff like that. And like I I don't me 4 years ago would not be doing what I'm doing today. I would not be speaking on stage. I held an event back in January of my own. I would not be doing that. So this is like crazy in a good way to me. And it's opened up a lot of avenues. And also, my kids are 12 and 15 now, and now hopefully they get to see it too, and they can understand that life isn't what society tells you it is. And you can live the life that you want to live and be happy and don't have to listen to other people. Um, if you want to talk about some of the guests, they've been all across the board. The one that always sticks in my head for some reason, she had a multiple personalities, and she thought they were all gone up till the age, I think, 45. She found out they were still there. She had some kind of leg injury, and she was traveling all across countries for her job. And I forget if it was like the hospital or whatever she described them as, but she kept going, getting help and everything. And she shared how I think it was 4 or 5, but each were a number, and it was the number of the age that they showed up in her life. And she was able to beat this and get rid of them. And this was in the first year that I was launching the podcast. Like that one still sticks out to me a lot because I never spoke with anybody else yet that has had that so far on my podcast. But to hear stuff like that, to hear a guy that he was gonna lose his car, he's gonna get repoed, and he's like, you know what? I'm just driving out to Utah to see his mom. His mom left him up for adoption and gave him away when he was a kid. Found out that she was still drugs and stuff, and that's what he was doing as well. He quit, gave up after that. Now he's doing marketing and stuff, and I think he went to college for a little bit too. But like he totally changed his life around and found God and everything. Some other ones we're talking about entrepreneurship, like how did they jump into it? And it's just navigating, getting out of the corporate job and jumping into entrepreneurship. So some of them are like, wow, that's horrible. I don't want to hear that. Yeah, or they're just kind of basic in a way where they just fall into things but they still love what they're doing. They're still passionate about helping others with whatever they're doing. And for the most part, a lot of people are going through that journey, and they do come out to be like entrepreneurs to help others get through what they went through because they could see a better life on the other end of it. And, like I said, there was drug addiction, bankruptcy, people going to jail. I can't say I had them all yet. I mean, like everybody experiences something. And I was just sharing with you. I got off the phone with somebody earlier, and she was talking about how she was in the police force. There's some kind of incident with gun shooting and stuff. This was like a 10-15 minute call we just had, and that was it. And she wound up losing her police force. job, but that was like her dream job. She wanted to become at a higher level, and now she's sharing that story and helping others with how she was able to get through it. So she'll be coming on as a guest sometime. So that's what it's all about to me. Like I could niche it down to niche it, if you want to call it niche it down to something where, hey, it's all about addiction. That's not what I'm all about. I want to reach across. And so if you listen to this, Yasmin, and you're like, okay, that's not for me. I'm not experiencing this, but my best friend is, you can share it and say, hey, hopefully this person or somebody else on the other end can help you out. So yeah, it's all across the board.
So let's get you to reintroduce yourself, your website, your available services, and then see where Yasmin wants to go, or even discuss what happens when you actually achieve all your dream jobs and realize that was not a good idea.
Yeah, so Jon Emery, my podcast is Life's Checkmark, and you can go ahead and find it on Apple, Spotify, etc. It's just a giant orange check mark, like the orange on the wall, and then a guy walking up with the words. You can also go to lifescheckmark.com. There you can find my coaching program, the clips, the podcast community, which is a school community with right now it's 34 podcasters. And I'm bringing in podcasters that are not in the group to share their experience in podcasting and help others, no matter what it is. One's coming in and talking about networking, like he has a podcast network. The other one came in about creating your podcast for leads and stuff like that. So I am all about trying to help people with the whole podcast thing, because not only do I have a podcast where one person can come on and share, but if I had not me, but like multiple people beside me having podcasts and doing the same thing, maybe with all the people I can't get on my show, I mean, that's life changing right there for so many other people that might be listening to them and not me. That's a big goal for me, is just to make it,
That's part of our mission. That's what we try to stress with the radio station, is that we don't want the racing community to think that's what we cover, even though a lot of events we go to are racing. We don't want the surf community to think that we're back in the racers technology. Matter of fact, we want to get those two talking. I don't like the idea of pumping oil out of the earth whatsoever. However, we're a radio station. I'm kind of interested on what other people think and what the facts are. So I'd like to use waste energy. So I have some varied opinions, and I realize that when you start telling people what their opinions should be, then people turn the dial off. They turn it to the left. And I've never ever understood why anybody in the audio business like we are doesn't want them to turn it to the right, which is increase the volume and allow them to continue doing what they want to do every day. And so the idea was to find people like you, to find musicians, to find surfers, to find race car drivers, to find all these people, and put a safe space together where none of them feel assaulted. Everybody has a pretty reasonable time. And when somebody needs a tool for their mental or spiritual or physical toolbox, wandering the green earth and seeing the beauty that surrounds us, they can find it. And they can find it fairly easily. And it sounds like your interest in that. The podcasting provides a space where I can learn a little bit more about what's going to be involved and how it's going to work for me, and potentially my time commitment based on the productivity level I want out of it. Or maybe, like the radio station started for us, we just want to kind of do this because we think it's needed.
Yeah. We kind of we had several catalysts that kind of pushed us into this. There was first, it started with my mom. She was living in Paradise, California, and there was a fire that happened up there, and I kind of had like spiritual experience trying to, praying for her, placing intentions for her safety when I lost complete contact with her. And so that was very transformative for me, and I went on to go on and help people that had lost their homes, doing meditation stuff and things like that to help them navigate, because a lot of them were very lost. That type of trauma just, it a lot of times you just feel like you're walking in a fog. So I was doing work to do that. And then a couple years later, Bob, he had a transformative experience where a former coworker of his, they committed suicide because her father, she worked for her father's company her whole life, and she woke up at 40 years old, realized, she had no education, she had no job skills because she had only worked for her father. She had no love prospects, and basically she felt trapped. And so that was very impactful for him and kind of birthed the radio station mission. We're out there, we don't want people to feel alone. We want people to feel like they have a place they can turn to for some help.
You might like this analogy, your take on this might be kind of interesting because I've been formulating it, but in thinking about things like the Doors, and not just the musical group, the Doors, but people would talk about knocking on doors. When we have a life coach, Lee Aaron, he talks about knocking on doors. Oh, Rich Bob too, our tarot reader.
Yeah.
And you knock on these doors and you knock on these doors to see who answers. And I was talking to somebody about this one time, and the guy just shook his head. It's like, what are you talking about? And I go, yeah, these people are talking about knocking on doors, and there's something that's bothering me about it. And he looked at me and he goes, hold up. Excuse me, I almost said something. He goes, because they didn't try the handle. Sometimes the doors that you get to, don't knock on them. Forget that. Try the handle, see if the darn thing's locked. Why are you asking somebody to let you in somewhere where you have to go, right? And so here was this intelligent gal. I mean, she just bright as can be, as nice as can be. I would call her my sister, a horse girl, kind of person. And she had the technological experience of an environmental industrial specialist, bar none, by the time she was 24, and she'd never been to college. She didn't have a degree. She just followed Daddy around. So she held Daddy's resume and his pieces of paper, and she knocked on doors, but she never tried the handle. She never opened one for herself. And I don't know if with the podcasters, I mean, that's what you're asking them to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly it. They're scared, they're nervous, they even go on just even it's audio, they don't see it. It's a whole new world, right? And so I have to share that with them. And I'll be posting a podcast this week. It was her first one going on as a guest. Right. I'm like, bring it. This is what I love that. Right. And so I know she was nervous in the beginning, but then it was just her. Don't worry, millions aren't going to see this or watch or listen to it. Right. That's just joking around. Yeah. Right. Exactly. But you gotta get freeway. You gotta get the first one out. Right. Get rid of the jitters. And you have to take the action. Turn the doorknob. That takes action. Right.
Yeah.
If not, you're knocking and it doesn't open up, then you're just walking past it. You're not even giving an attempt. So yeah, it's fun. I love it because I love trying to get somebody on the camera or on a microphone because it's life changing. It's changed my life so much. You don't even know. I've joined entrepreneur groups I never would have joined. I've been to masterminds I never would have joined. I've been I'll be driving to Dallas to speak because I told Yasmin, I enjoy driving to places and I'll be meeting people along the way that I've podcasted with and hopefully meet them in person. It's for me, it's been life changing, and I know it can be life changing for whoever wants to start one and stay consistent and keep working at it. It's not a fast paced. It's nothing fast to get good out of it. I'm saying it the wrong way. You see all these big names out there and stuff, and they have that name already. So when they publish a podcast, it's like everybody follows them, right? So you're not that person, but you can be that person, and it's a slow process to build up to that. So it's not about the downloads. It's not about that. It's your why. Like that's the first thing I focus on. Why are you doing this? Is this for your business? Is this for you to help others? What is it? Because if you hold on to that, then you're going to keep on going forward with your podcast. And that's exactly why I keep doing what I'm doing.
We were sweating bullets when we launched the radio station because we'd have one listener in a day. And we had all these views to the websites, and we were thinking, wow, we'll pay people on Facebook, or we'll use Fiverr, we'll do this, we'll get some listeners, And so we were like, what are we doing? And we had like 3 or 4 shows, and we're sending emails everywhere and friend requests, and they only let you do 10 a day. And and it's funny because I hear people who want to do podcasting, and they're like, oh man, I'm gonna be the next Joe Rogan. Yeah, no, let's not start there. Here's where you should start. The numbers changing.
Yeah.
And hopefully, it's the really important part, hopefully it's going up.
Yeah, exactly.
And not down. And
Right.
so about a year later, so that would have been September of 2024, we realized that we'd been to a couple of land speed races, and we did about 10 or 12 car shows on a farmer's market, and just some really dirty, nasty, small events. We got somebody to donate like $100, and 4 people were listening a day. And we realized that, well, there was this guy who somehow managed to start streaming us at his business. So we were being played in 2 local businesses. And then, we went to this land speed racing event where we met this guy from Germany and Japan, and they were like, why can't we listen? So I was like, I don't know. And so you open that up, and now you're looking at it, and there's always somebody listening. But it's not 4 people a day. It's not 400, but it's not 4. And so you go, oh, victory.
Yeah.
And it's been almost 18 months, but we're talking to you, and we're talking to David Chemetsky, and we're talking to Lee Aaron, and we're talking to this Aaron Brown, NASCAR team driver, and we're talking to this guy named Mario. Probably like this is pretty cool. So he was reading stories about surfers and paddleboard enthusiasts and water sports enthusiasts drowning because they were alone. Nobody is with them. It's like, how do I explain to people that there's a little bit of safety in the ocean if you have numbers? Go canoeing. You don't have to be next to me. Maybe we ought to just be inside of each other kind of thing, or doing something like that. And so he just decided, I'm going to make an app that lets water sports enthusiasts talk to other water sports enthusiasts without giving their names. And then they can do safe swim activities and stuff like this. And so he just launched it like 2 months ago. And I go, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
We got to promote that.
That's awesome.
If what you're doing, you're helping people, and you're giving them a shot at what they think is their dream. Might be. If it isn't, it's got to be a unique experience, right?
Yeah.
Success stories. You got any? Like any?
Success stories. I like mine.
Words of wisdom.
I'm sorry, what was that?
We call them words of wisdom. So we generally play these quotes from philosophers: Aristotle, Plato, Plutarch, all them guys. But then we play words of wisdom from maybe the movies, maybe celebrities, surfers, actors, Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman, some scenes from the movies. If they have something to relate that might be positive, people why you want to surf, why you want to climb a mountain, kind of thing, And so we play those as well, about 3 to 5 minute clips, words of wisdom. And we asked people. I asked 4 race car drivers this last night. This last question, and I said, "What could you tell somebody other than how to drive the race car? The reason why you drive a race car? Like, what do you want to know that for? I don't want to know that. My listeners want to know that."
That's right.
So why for you? Why the podcasting?
Yeah, it's simply for the mission of helping others that they can listen to whatever somebody else experienced to know that they're not alone if they're experiencing the same thing. And that's what it's all about. That's my why. That's my mission. That's why I keep doing what I'm doing. And, I might not hear the changes in their lives. Sometimes I'll get posts of things, but it's far few in between. For example, this has nothing to do with changing a life, but the one guy I was talking to was one of those men in that group. I said something to him. I referred a guy to him to, hey, look, you might want to help this guy out. He could be part of your group, right? And so he's like, oh, by the way, I see that you're killing it on social media or whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm posting stuff, but there ain't much feedback. There's not much I call it crickets, right? It was just quiet. And but so people are actually seeing and watching and taking it all in. They just might not be responding to it, which is okay. There's a lot of things I don't respond to that I see and stuff. So we have to, yeah, right. So we have to accept that, but just keep showing up, being consistent and doing that. But yeah, that's why I've been podcasting. It's just for the simple fact of hopefully changing somebody else's life. Because I was alone. I was by myself in a dark place. And if I didn't listen to that podcast and just say, why not just try this group and see what it does? What I mean, that was all new for me. And it came in at the right time. I don't know, again, I don't know where I would have been in that situation. But that's why yeah, just podcasting just keeps going forward, and somebody's going to hear it, listen to it, and hopefully they can take action on whatever advice that the person or I myself is sharing.
Well, I think everything you're doing is absolutely wonderful, and you're making a difference. You are, even when you first started, however small, you were taking that step to get outside of your own darkness and do some little piece to make the world just a little bit better. And I love that. And I think if we could all do that, we'd be living heaven on earth, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I think this is a good time to wrap up.
No.
I guess not.
Yeah, you forgot about the dog.
Dog, yeah. What about her?
Well, you told us you had one. You told us that if it wasn't for this amazing dog, that you probably wouldn't have that which stood by you. Recently, I watched this thing about Bob the cat. And I knew nothing about this when I launched the station, but apparently there was a homeless guy in England. They did a movie about him. He finds his cat finds him, whatever. Two of them heal each other from his drug addiction, and their life kind of moves forward for a while. Well, cats don't last very long. The trick is to understand what the cat did for you while it's here, and then respect that and carry it on later on. So I assume that the amazing dog has a story, or otherwise, why the verb?
Sure. Yeah. So her name is Rain. She's sleeping at the moment. And I got her about two years ago, I think it was. She was a rescue. She's part husky, part German Shepherd, and who knows if there's anything else mixed in there. So I took her in as a foster, dog or whatever it's called, foster home until she found a home. Well, obviously we just wound up keeping her, and the kids fell in love with her because we never got a dog when they were kids because their mother never wanted a dog. So I'm like, well, here's the opportunity. And she's by my side. She'll, sit at the front door when I go off to go to work in the morning, and, we go for walks and stuff, and, has that unconditional love, so like you can yell at it today, and then, another couple minutes later, she'll be all over you. That's what a dog does. And I'm sure most animals do that as well. But yeah, and it was, I guess it was just meant to be in a way, right? And I wasn't searching for it. I wasn't say, hey, give me a dog. It was just like, something happened and it worked, and I'm able to take care of her, and she's able to take care of us in a way. And she came out of a home that had, I think, 2 or 3 pit bulls, and they were caged up. She was caged up. So I don't know if she was just turning 1 when I got her. So I don't know if she was pushed off to the side. Who knows? Anyways, yeah, it's not like she was beaten up or anything like that. But so we got her, and um, I'm happy to have her. And she's one that likes to run, but she comes back. It's not like I want her to run away. That's the last thing I want. But she comes back. So yeah, she's a great dog. I'm glad you asked.
That would explain the amazing part. So it's not just that you rescued her; she kind of rescued you.
Yeah,
It's
yes,
kind
yes.
of mutual. And you brought the dog home, and you said, looking at the kids, you go, "We're not keeping this dog."
That's exactly it.
And
Yeah.
silently, somebody in that room is going, "Yeah, right."
I know.
Never heard that on TV
They
since
love it. They
time
love it.
immemorial.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. It's exactly what happens. I know it happens a lot.
Well,
So
I think that's all that I have on behalf of Radio Bob. All I can tell you is I appreciate the heck out of it, and really glad that Yasmin and I got a chance to talk to you as far as an interview is concerned for our station.
Yeah, and we look forward to airing your podcast on our station as well. We're very grateful for you contributing that for us.
And absolutely, and when you get done here, we'll hit the unrecord part and get down to the business end of the conversation. But it's like we tell people. So one more time, your website is
lifescheckmark.com.
perfect. And if you wanted to give a thank you to anyone in the universe that hasn't heard one of your podcasts already, who would it be?
Thank you to whoever hasn't listened to it.
Okay.
I don't know. I thank you both for allowing this to go on air to other people that have not heard it yet before. I think that's just a game changer right there. So I appreciate both of you doing this.
Yeah, it's pretty much for us, it's a shotgun. We just pull the trigger, and if it hits something, we'll know. And otherwise, we're hoping that somewhere, somebody on the planet, maybe Western Australia, who knows, they might be calling you out. Thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
Appreciate it.